This is the story of when I was on vacation and I ended up being at the hospital. So, what's happening here is something that I still cannot believe it. I have my suspicions, of course, but who knows? Maybe I'm wrong. I'm always careful about these things because you never know. A year ago, I was on vacation. I'm a freelancer and I end up making a lot of money building websites and so on and so forth. So, after years and years of working, I decided to go on vacation. So, I took my pickup truck and I went on a hiatus. So, I went out of the city and I traveled part of the state. I am from Los Angeles, by the way, but still, it's crazy. So I was on vacation and I was on the road, and I stopped by to uh, get some gas, and I ended up giving a hundred bill, and I had change. I had like $55 change. So, anyways, um, oh, by the way, uh, this change that I have, these $55 change I had, is very important because what's happening next, I don't know. I never fight about money, but who knows? So, after hours and hours of driving by myself, uh, on the side note, I have to mention that I live by myself. I am a very private person. I don't have a girlfriend. I am 25 years old and I have been working as a software engineer for 4 years already. So still, I haven't found one. But anyway, so uh, I arrived at the hotel and I got a room, and I remember clearly that I saw a casino next to the hotel. I didn't go to the casino, but I went to the bar and I paid with my debit card instead of cash. So, what's happening here is that before I left to the bar, I was sitting at the table. There was a small table in the middle of the room, and I was sitting there and I was checking on some old pictures I had on my wallet, and I took out the cash that I had. There were $55.40. So I put everything on the table. There were two bills of 20, one bill of 10, and another bill of 5. And as I mentioned before, I am a software engineer and I've been working for on this UI and this new algorithm. So, story short, I had an idea, a new breakthrough on how to make this algorithm, but I didn't have anything to write on, so I immediately took the $20 bill that I had, and I was writing down uh, some numbers on the bill. Anyway, so uh, I went to the bar. After I did that, I went to the bar, and I remember I was gonna pay with my debit card, but then I realized that, hey, I don't want to use my debit card. I want to use cash, and I also want to leave some tip for the lady, and I'd better go and pay with cash. And so before I took my drink, I I paid for the drink, and I decided, hey, I'm coming back. Please save my seat, and I'm just gonna bring some cash that I had in my room, I told the bartender. So when I went back to the room, I noticed that the maid that works there just got out of my room, and apparently she speaks another language, maybe Spanish, something like that. I'm not completely sure, but she speaks English, and fairly, I would say. Um, anyway, so I went back in, and I figured that the lady probably cleaned, took out the trash, and whatnot. So I moved to the table, and I was looking for the cash. I left it on the table. I couldn't find it. And then I remembered that the maid just got out. And this is so embarrassing. I thought that, oh, maybe she took it as a tip. Fortunately, I didn't have any cash on me, and I didn't see any ATM. So I went out, and I told the maid, excuse me, did you see $55 over there on the table back in my room? This is so embarrassing, and I don't want to make any fuss about it. Maybe you took it as a tip, but I need that back. So if you took it, just let me know. Nothing's happening. Everything is okay. Um, what's more, I'll even give you a $20 tip from those $55. I only want to buy some drinks with it. And she was looking at me weird, and she was telling me that she's been working at the hotel for years and years, and she's never taken anything. Why did you accuse me of this? And I noticed with the corner of my eye, I noticed that the whole time she was having her left hand inside the pocket of her apron. And it was so crazy because I remember back when I was a kid, my dad used to play with me, and he told me how to spot some mimics to win against anybody. And sometimes the body betrays you, and you tend to do something, some gestures when you spot a lie. And that's why I know. uh, Besides, my sister is a psychologist, so whatever. But anyway, so she told me she didn't take it, and I was like, I know this is very difficult, but please let me explain you. I need the money. And as I was talking to the maid, the manager of the hotel went by, and she said, "Hey, how are you? How's everything? I hope everything is okay while you stay with us at the hotel." And I said to her, "Yes, something's going on. I lost $55 on my table back in my room, and I was telling the maid, the employee, that probably she took it by mistake, probably she thought it was a tip, but I'm gonna need that money back." And the manager of the hotel looked a little worried about the accusations that I was doing. So she said, why don't you step in my office and we talk about it?" So um, it was the manager, the employee, and me. We were there at her office, and this whole time the maid had her hand on her apron. It was so crazy. "So what's happening here?" said the manager. And I said to her that I left $55 in my room on the table, and I stepped out of my room because I went to the bar, and then when I came back 20 minutes later, I noticed that the money was gone. So the last person I saw was the maid, who, as a matter of fact, I saw her stepping out of my room. And she immediately saw the maid, the employee, and asked her, "Is this true? Did you go to his room?" And the maid was like, how can you say this to me? I have been working here for so many years, and I have never been accused of anything. You are new at management, you probably don't know what you're doing." This whole time I was so embarrassed, I thought, because now the maid was accusing the manager that she had not enough experience. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is not gonna end up well. And the lady kept having her hand in her apron pocket, and I was so like, oh my gosh, this person. Okay, so the manager said, "We're not accusing anybody of anything right now because there is no proof. So if there is no proof, you don't have anything to worry about." And I said to the manager, actually, there is proof. I can tell you how the $55 look like. Immediately, the manager looked at me, and the maid looked very, I don't know, scared maybe. I remember that she was sweating. So what's happening is that the manager told me, "Okay, what's going on? How do they look like?" So I said it was $55 and change. It was 2 bills of 20, one of 10, one of 5, and I remember that one of the bills has code of an algorithm, because I am a software engineer and I was working through some projects that I have, and they are written on a blue with a blue mark, and I am pretty sure that this employee had that money in her apron. So immediately the manager looked at the employee and said, "Is that true?" In that moment, the employee looked like, oh, they discovered me. So she She got up, she took her hand off the apron, and she threw at me the money. And I was like, oh my gosh. So the manager in that moment told me, please sir, step out of my office. I want to talk to this lady, to the employee. So I got out, and I remember I heard the employee screaming, and I heard that she was crying, and in the end she stepped out of the office, and she didn't even look at me when she left. Now I know that the lady was fired, because seconds later the manager was asking me to please get back in the room. So I went back in, and she told me, we had let go of this employee because we cannot have a person who steals from our customers. And so I deeply regret this. Please, I hope you stay with us. Even though this happened, we are going to give all your time for free. Everything is gonna be for free for you during you staying with us. So I was like, thank you. This was not my intention. I didn't want this, but I don't know, stealing from somebody, And the manager agreed. So I remember I had the money in my pocket, and I just didn't want to be in my room because I didn't want to think about what just happened. It was so crazy because in 20 minutes everything changed, from being a pleasant vacation to, oh my gosh, what's happening, somebody stole from me, and the person who stole from me was the maid. And I had no pleasure from what happened. So I went back out. I went to the bar, and I remember that when I stayed at the bar for hours, it was getting late. It was around 9 p.m. when I decided to go back to the apartment. So as I was on my way to my apartment, somebody was walking behind me, and all of a sudden I just remember that somebody hit me on the back of my head, and then I fell. I was on the floor, and somebody gave me a kick on my back. I couldn't breathe, and after that I remember that this person just left. And last thing I remembered was that somebody told me something in Spanish, maybe like a threat or something. And after that I was at the hospital. I remember that one day later they found out that the person who attacked me was a family member of the employee that was let go from the hotel. This person was captured, and later they found out that the employee was captured too, because she had a record of violence, and the family member ratted out on this employee, on the lady. So anyways, last thing I know was that they both went to prison for like about a year. and the reason they found out was because there were surveillance cameras outside the hotel. Thank goodness that happened, and thank goodness that another employee from the hotel saw me being attacked and they called 911. So I ended up at the hospital. I had fractured ribs and I couldn't breathe for 2 months. It was horrible. So a year after that, I'm better. I feel I'm having a vacation, but this time I'm gonna be more careful. And please be advised, you never know what's gonna happen. If you are going to a hotel, be careful. This doesn't mean that you cannot trust anybody, but you simply need to be careful with your things, and you never know. Thank you.